I'm now going to design a second road. So I'm going to go for horizontal design. I'm going to add to my current design model. My first road was called MC10. I'm going to try typing in MC11. Let's go next. I'm getting a warning here. If you remember, we got the string naming convention turned on, and this means that the third character defines the road name, and of course I've already used 1 as my third character for road 1, so that will not do. I'm going to have to create a road centerline called MC20, where 2 defines the road with the string naming convention, my second design road. Let's go next. I'm now going to add an IP with snap on, and I'm going to snap to an existing road centerline. So I left click, and I'm going to construct the second intersection point. So I use the construct tool. This IP1 only has a tangent out, so I select the new bearing for that IP, and again I select exactly on top of the surveyed road centerline that I snapped to before. That gives me the existing bearing of this surveyed road. I now need to rotate that through 270 degrees because this surveyed road is going down the page, so I need to rotate once, twice, 3 times. I'm coming off into the survey. I'm perpendicular to the surveyed road, and we need a distance to the second IP of 200 meters. I'm going to OK that. I'm going to window out, and you can see I've constructed a second IP which is perpendicular to the existing surveyed road. I now need to complete this design of road 2, and I need to snap to the design road centerline MC10 at change 450. So I'm going to add IP. Yet again I want snap on, and I put my cursor over change 450 and I left click. Select MC10, and there is my third intersection point. Now I know that we are square at the intersection with the surveyed road, but I just now need to make sure that we're perpendicular to the design centerline MC10. So I'm going to go to the construct tool. I have to make IP3 active, so I select and left click in the vicinity. The nearest IP is now active, which in our case is IP3. The current bearing into this IP is 76.2659 degrees, so I'm going to left click to make that bearing active. I put my cursor over the design road centerline, I left click, and I can see the current bearing is 348 degrees going up the page, and I need to rotate this once through 90 degrees. So I hit this icon to the left of the panel, and you can see we were fairly close, but the cyan line was the existing bearing. We've now rotated to the white line. As soon as I hit OK, we move the bearing into that third IP. I am now square to the design. I'm going to check the curve by going to Edit Curve Details, click near the IP, and there we have my 360 radius with my 60 kph transitions. I'll just OK that, and I can accept this alignment. Now, create an alignment. My first change with the time with the existing road will be change 0, and I've got an interval of 10 meters. If I window in, you'll see that I have the master string generated. with the 100-meter intervals along the reference string, and also horizontal tangent point annotation is also displayed on the screen. To complete the vertical design on the second road, MC20, I'm going to go to vertical profile. I'm going to select road 2 from the drop down list. Remember, I could also select this from the screen. I'm going to go next. I'm going to cut a section through the existing surface model, the survey triangles. I'm going to hit next, and MX automatically creates a second view with my profile sitting through the ground at the bottom half of the screen. I'm just going to window in. I also am going to set the vertical exaggeration to 10:1 on my previous vertical on the MC10, the first road. Now if I look in at the start of this profile, I am looking at the half section of the existing road, the surveyed road, because I snapped to the centre line of that survey. I now need to tie in at the end of my second road, but at the moment all I'm showing is the ground profile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section through my design road, and I do this by selecting this icon here, collinear profile or profile surface details, and I'm going to select the model to cut. Of course it's going to be the design model because I've got a super elevated road, so I hit design and it will add it to my selected models list. Now I'm just going to select it from the list, and I'm going to change the line color. I'm going to pick a light color there, and I'm going to go close. If I now window in at the tie-in with road 1, I can see I've got a stub, and that is the channel of the design road MC10, and that is the centre line. Now for the add IP. I'm going to window in at the start of road 2. I'm going to check that my snap surface is set to green, and I'm going to add IP with snap to point, and I select the first point on the ground profile and the second. I'm now going to just make sure that I have snapped to the first point of the ground profile, so I'm going to go to lock ends, and I'm going to go first XZ, snap to the first chainage on the current profile, which is the ground. I'm going to go close. I'm also going to slide this grade, so I hit slide on grade. I pick just to the left of IP2, I put my left cursor down, keep it pressed, and move it across to the right and let go. Again, I'm going to depress my left mouse button, keep it pressed down, let go. Now I can always alter the length of this grade later on in the design. I'm now going to pan across to the tie-in with the design road, but this time I have to change the current snap surface. I do not want to snap to the ground profile, I want to set, or snap rather, to the design. So I'm going to go to my icon here, which is available snap surfaces, and I'm going to change the surface to the design. Note how the current snap surface color has changed on the panel. I'm going to go close. I'm going to add IP. I've got the snap to point selected. I'm going to pick left of this stub, which is the channel of the design road, and I'm going to pick right of the stub, which will select the design road center line. Yet again, I'm going to just make sure that I have snapped to the last point of the current snap surface, so I'm going to go for last XZ, and I'm going to close the panel. I'm also going to slide the third IP towards the left hand side of the profile. I have to be careful with this. I'm going to left click on the slide on grade, and I'm going to put my cursor just to the right of IP3. You have to be careful here because there's such a small distance on the profile there. It is easy to pick the IP4 and move that. I'm picking just to the right of IP3. I keep the left button pressed down and I move to the left and I let go. I'm going to just pan out a little bit. I'm going to pick just to the right of IP3 and drag it down somewhere here. I can always move this later on. I'm now going to set my snap surface back to the ground profile. Again, note how the colour changes on the current snap surface. Now the reason for this is as I move my cursor along the ground profile, I can see I get a cut fill balance, a level difference, gradients, and also an XZ, all relative to the existing ground. I'm now going to insert an IP. This time I don't want to snap. I'm just going to put this in free space. I'm going to left click and it's inserted it within the current profile. Now there are many things I can do with this profile. I can do a free move on this third IP. I'm putting the left cursor active, keeping it pressed down. Wherever I let go, it will place the IP. I'm also trying to look at my cut fill balance, although this will be a little difficult to get a perfect cut fill balance. Because I had no snaps selected, this was just a free pick. If I've got any of the snaps, this will affect the move. I can bounce, which means move the level of IP3, and again I can see here as I start to get too flat on the outgoing grade, I get a red warning in my toolbar. Again, I'll just steepen the grade a little bit. I can also skid, which means I can move the chainage of IP3 if I keep my left button pressed down, but I cannot alter the elevation. I'm going to let go there. What else have we got? If I look here on the bottom of the sag curve, again I can see the low point on that sag curve. Again, if I'd got a peak on this hog curve, again I'd see a red symbol. As I move my cursor, again I can see my grades. That's a negative 3.5%, positive 3.71%. I've also got a level difference of 3.372 meters between my design and the ground profile, and I've got a cut fill balance. Well, I haven't. I've actually got almost a 25% to 75% cut fill. I'm going to look at the set gradients. I can select an IP from the profile, and I can see an incoming grade and an outgoing grade. Now, because I've snapped to my existing half section of road at the start of the scheme, I can't change the in gradient to IP2, but I could change the out. If I select by IP3, I could select both the in and the out grade. If I select by IP4, I could change the in gradient but not the out gradient, because yet again I've tied in to the design road on the right hand side. Again, if I just window in, the grade coming into that should be sitting exactly on top of the stub, and I'm just highlighting that in the profile. Just close the gradients. We can look at the edit IP details. Yet again, if I left click near any of the IPs on the profile, it makes the current IP active. And again, if I select IP3, I could alter the chainage, the level, and use the current K factor, which I'd set at 30, or I could use a vertical curve length and type in a value in meters. Again, I'll just close that panel. Just before I complete this vertical profile, I'm just going to set the gradients at IP3. I'll round these up to 3.7% and the outgrade I'll make to 1.4, and I will go OK. If I'm unhappy with the change, I can undo, but my profile is acceptable, so I'm going to hit the green tick to add elevations to my horizontal design. So the master string will now have Z values. Just to prove that we've got elevations on MC20, I'm going to go to Dynamic Reports. I'm going to select Points. I'm going to pick the master string, hit the green tick to apply, and at the bottom of this panel I can now see that I have elevations as I move along through the point numbers. We can also see in the plan how this tracks as I move along. I've got Z values on MC20. To complete the design of road 2 or MC20, which is the name of the master string, I'm going to apply carriageway templates from the road design toolbar. I pick MC20 as my master string, and I'm going to hit next. Now we're going to use a standard template, and I'm using the slider to find it. It's the MFW single 2-lane 7.3 carriageway, so I'm going to apply that by going next. I'm going to apply it for the full length of the design, so I just hit next and finish. There's my carriageway, and I'm going to super elevate. So we're going to go to the rule-based super elevation again. As before, I'm going to pick the feature from the drop down MC20. I'm going to leave the annotation for the super elevation as the default setting. I'm going to hit next. My rules file will be the TD993 urban single. I'm going to open that. I'm going to use from alignment for my design speed, but remember I could also go for selected and pick 60 kph from there. That would give me the same results. I'm going to leave it on from alignment. I'm going to go next. I'm going to pick a pivot method for a cross-hung road about the centre line and hit next. MX knows my left and right carriageway edges. If you remember the string naming convention, we have CE for carriageway edge. Road 2 is the third character, which then leaves us a 0 for the left edge and an I for the first carriageway edge on the right. So I'm going to hit next. So applying the super elevation. I'm just going to review conflicts. There are a few areas that I'd need to look at with where I've got possible drainage problems. I'm going to close that. Again, if I have a look in the plan, I can see I've got the yellow annotation for the super elevation, which means that my transition lengths are acceptable. So I'm just going to hit finish, and my super elevation has been applied. I can check this by going to analysis, crossfall checker. I'm going to pick the road centre line, hit next. It's cutting the cross sections, looking for the nearest feature left and right, and yet again if I try and window out a little bit in the plan on the right hand side there so I can see my transition. As I come through the super elevation drawing, you can see how we lift the left channel. We've got full super elevation position at the start of the curve. As we go through the curve, I've got my 3.54% crossfall, and as we come off the curve through the clothoid, we're back down on a balanced carriageway where I hit the straight. So yet again I can see that the wizard has applied the super elevation correctly, and I'm going to exit out of the crossfall checker.